on or off. I know some people will trickle in throughout the call. All right, welcome to our Montessori Thrive and Nido Marketing Montessori Leadership Town Hall. I'm Camilla Campuzano. I'm the community manager here at Nido Marketing. We host these every single Thursday throughout the academic school year as a way for Montessori school leaders to have a space to come together and discuss administration, school operations, and of course, Montessori marketing and growing your enrollment. This is our area of expertise. Oftentimes we invite leaders, consultants, and thought leaders in the Montessori space to come and present, but today it's just going to be an open forum and a discussion hosted by us at Nido Marketing. Today we're going to discuss creating content for Instagram, a step-by-step guide for Montessori schools. We're going to be offering some free resources throughout this session, and this will be recorded and posted on YouTube. So if you want to reference a presentation later, you can go there, or you can go to Montessori Thrive, which is our resource membership site where we have all of the resources available, including all of our past town halls. Throughout the call, this is very much collaborative. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to add those in the chat or unmute yourself if you can. If you're more comfortable speaking, that's fine as well. These are very much collaborative. So we hope to answer your questions and give you some helpful tips for running your Montessori school's Instagram account. All right, before we get started, I wanted to do a little overview of what we're going to be discussing today. So in today's presentation, we'll talk a little bit about why Instagram. Why is Instagram so important as a social media platform, specifically today with millennial and Gen Z parents kind of entering the chat into our Montessori space. We'll talk about how you can adapt to new platforms, specifically setting up your profile and understanding the Instagram features. And these features are going to be changing in the future because all platforms are always having updates, they're always making minor changes and adding features. So it's good to stay up to date with what's going on now on Instagram. We'll talk about using Instagram on different devices as well. We'll also discuss what kind of content to post on Instagram, where you can source the content. We'll be sharing some strategies on that, places to find imagery, how you can create designs and things like that for Instagram in a way that's easy. I know that in the Montessori space, we're not necessarily all graphic designers, so we need to be realistic, and there are lots of ways to create really good quality content really easily for free if you're a Montessori school leader. We'll also talk about what kind of goals you should be setting for yourself when it comes to Instagram and how your team can help. Very much, this is something that you should get your team involved, maybe even parents in your community. I'll talk about how you can delegate different things when it comes to managing your socials. We'll briefly touch upon other social platforms as well, and we'll be offering some resources to help. There'll be some time for Q&A at the end, but if you want, ask questions throughout. We'll make sure that everything gets answered. All right, I'd love for you all to introduce yourself in the chat and let us know what school you're joining us from and why specifically you joined today. Do you want to learn how to use Instagram? Are you looking for some creative ideas for content? Do you want to learn more about the features? So I'll give everyone a moment just to type in the chat their name, where they're joining us from, and why they joined today's call. Allison Peterson from Pincushion Hill. Welcome back, Allison. In Massachusetts, I want to learn how to make our Instagram page a strong marketing tool. Great. Tina Davidson. Hi, Tina, joining us from Lupine Montessori in the south suburbs of Chicago. I'm not a big social media user, so I need to hop on this train. It's great to be proactive. Definitely. It can be intimidating to join a new platform or just to use it regularly as well. Hi, Wally, here from Crabapple, interested in leveraging our Instagram for marketing. Tamara joining us from London. I'm also in London, Tamara. I'm interested in finding out more about creating content from our Instagram account, for our Instagram account. Okay. And Denise, I'm currently in human resources and marketing with Bozeman Montessori. Need to learn, need to know more relative talent acquisition and new program marketing, etc. Need to get more comfortable with the medium. Okay, great. So hopefully this will help answer your questions here, Mia. I'm head of school at Montessori of Roseboro in sunny Florida. I'm looking to improve our social media and would like to learn more about when to post a story versus a regular post or reel. Okay, we'll make sure to answer all these questions. And again, feel free to ask anything in the chat throughout. So let's start off with talking about why specifically Instagram is so important. Nowadays, I'm sure most of you are dealing with millennial parents, and maybe even some of the older Gen Z parents might have young children now. So it's important to kind of start making a little bit of a transition from Facebook to Instagram. I'm not saying to quit Facebook. I'm just saying if you have the capacity to focus on one more than the other, it should certainly be Instagram because this is where parents are more active nowadays, just realistically speaking. So getting started on Instagram is really about adapting and understanding all of its features. So we're going to dive into that first, how you can set up your profile, what kind of features you can be utilizing, and then we'll talk about what type of content is really appropriate for this app because it's a little bit different than Facebook. All right, so best practices for setting up your profile. Here's just a little sample one that we mocked up. As you can see, we have our school logo as our profile picture. Sometimes I see some schools will be posting their building or a picture of their classroom in their profile picture. Your profile picture should always be a high quality school logo, a well-designed one as well. So if you don't have that, it might be worth hiring a graphic designer or creating one, but it should always be your school logo. Your header and bio should always be your school name, what ages you serve, where you're located, and then your school website. In this sample, we put a little schedule a tour exclamation point as well. That's a little call to action. You can also include that. But these are essentially the most important things you want to make sure are on your profile. If they're not, go ahead and edit your bio because oftentimes I see schools that they might have the city, but they don't specifically say what programs they have or what ages they serve. You want to make sure you have all of these essentials at a glance so that people know more about your community. Also, your username should be simple. Hopefully there's not a lot of other Montessori schools with your name, but sometimes we struggle with that. This is where you can use a dot or an underscore, or you can do Montessori school instead of just name and Montessori. You can work around with what's available. Instagram will let you know which usernames you can use. Another pro tip that I added here is to set up your profile using a smartphone rather than a laptop or desktop. The reason for this is the experience is so much easier and more seamless on a smartphone because Instagram was designed to be used specifically on a smartphone. Yes, you can technically access Instagram on your computer. You can have a tab open and do posts from there, but you will not actually be able to use a lot of their features on a laptop. So it's important to kind of get used to using it on your phone. Luckily, there's a little bit of instructions and there's a guide when it comes to setting up an account. So it'll kind of take you through the steps. Another thing that can only be done when setting up your account on a smartphone is it gives you the option of what kind of account to set up. In your case, as a Montessori school, you'll be setting up a business account. Luckily, Instagram has a lot of instruction and guidance on this. You can always go to Instagram help. If you Google how to set up an Instagram business account, it will quite literally give you a walkthrough of how to do this. It's very simple. Here's a 3-step process of how to do it. And what's interesting about setting up your business account is it will give you some insights as to engagement, how many people are seeing your posts, how many people are able to engage with your posts. So we'll give you some insights that might be helpful in the future if you're looking to really expand your Instagram down the line. So it's something important to consider. And you are, after all, a business as a Montessori school. Features that you should know about. Instagram introduced Reels last year, and this is a tool that is very similar to TikTok in that it creates short form videos for people to use. And video has become really important across any platform nowadays. An Instagram reel can be anywhere from a few short seconds to a 15-minute long video that you post that will come up on your Instagram account. You can add music, you can create images, you can use images or videos to create reels. Also, if you have a Canva, which is free for schools, if you set up an account as a Montessori school, you can have free access. You can edit reels. It has all of the templates that you need, so it's very easy to do it in a couple of steps. Oh, this is just a video, a sample, a little tutorial on how to use Instagram
When you
Reels.
create a post, you're going to want to click on that little square with a plus sign in the middle of the screen. This indicates that you want to post something. You can post a picture or you can post a reel. So if I wanted to post a reel, I would simply click down here on reel. I can post images as reels or videos. So if I have any saved videos, that's great. I can just upload them. You can edit them easily on Canva. For this example, I'm just going to be using a picture, which you can actually use pictures to create reels, and that can help you engage a little bit more with your audience. For the sake of this sample, I'm just going to select this image. I'll click next when I'm happy with the length. You can make this longer or shorter. You can actually add in music. So if it's a picture or a video that you would just like to add in some music to, it's very easy to do that. You click that music note and you can look up a song that you'd like to add. There's all sorts of music available on here. You can add a classical song, you can add a trending song. So it's great. When I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and click next. Here I can add a bunch of stickers if I want to. If I click this little square with a smiley face, I can add in a couple of features here that might be fun. I'll go ahead and click next. It says others can now download and share your reels. Great. And here I can just add a caption. If I wanted to change the cover photo, I could click edit cover and I can pick from my camera roll. So I can pick something. If maybe that's not what I want to go for, I can pick a different image as my cover, and that's what's going to turn up on your grid. You can also see how it will actually turn out on your profile grid here. It's very easy. So there you can see how it's going to look on your grid on your account. When I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and click done. And again, I can add a caption. I can tag people. I can tag products. I can select my audience. Is this going to be private? Is this going to be public? I can add a location. I can add a fundraiser, add reminders. There's a lot of different features here. And then when it's all done, I'll go ahead and click that share button.
Oh, all right. So a reel is essentially just going to be that short video. The best way to get in practice of making these is just by practicing posting reels. Like I said, this is probably going to be a post that is going to get more engagement than a picture alone. So if you have the opportunity to post short form videos, I recommend doing it. It is a feature that usually gets a little bit more engagement than just photos. And you can always reference this video if you need a little step-by-step tutorial. But definitely experiment with this, have some fun, and see if you can also get your team to help you on these, because they can be a great way to reach people. I've seen so many great examples of Montessori schools posting reels. Whenever I have these town halls and we talk about Instagram, there's one account in particular. It's a school based in Toronto, I believe. I feel like they have a great social media manager, which is not something that every school can have, but you can always look towards other schools for inspiration. And their name is the Clover School or Clover Montessori. They have a great Instagram account. So if you want some inspiration, I recommend to go to them. They're doing really well and they're creating really good reels. They have a couple that are like classroom tours, or they take little videos and make a reel every time they host an event. And this is a great example of great content that you can create to build community on your school, reach more parents, and market your school, of course. Oh.
Whenever you...
All right. Some more features that you should know about, and I'm sure that you've posted on stories and story highlights, but this is another great way to increase engagement, especially in the past year where Instagram has pushed a lot more ad content onto people's feeds. Stories have become a little bit more highly engaged with, if you will, because people just go onto their Instagram feed and they'll just click through stories. And that's how they get the most updated posts that people are posting. So this is a great way for you to relay messages. Something to note about stories is they're temporary. They only last 24 hours when you post. So it's great for reminders about parenting events or things like of that nature. They are less clouded by ads, although there are ads now in between stories. It's not so much so as one would find on a feed, and it's less annoying for people to go through those ads, which is why people tend to lean more towards stories now. You can add links on your story. And this is important because you can't really add clickable links on captions on Instagram. The only places where you can add clickable links is in your bio. So your school website in your bio, that should always be there. But you can add links to stories. So let's say that you have an open house and you have an online registration form for that. You can add the link to your story. You wouldn't be able to add that to a caption. So this is a tool that you should be utilizing to share clickable links and redirect people to your website for free. And you can always repost your feed post. So every single time somebody is posting a reel or a picture on your main feed, you can go and you can repost that to your story. I'll show you how to do that here in this video.
I'm going to be showing you how you can post an Instagram story on your profile. So here I am on my profile that I'm using as the sample. You can go ahead and post stories in two different ways. So firstly, if I want to repost a post that I've posted on my main feed onto my story, I would just click on that post. Let's say I want to share this post onto my story. I'll go on it. I'll click this little send button. You'll see a heart button, a speech bubble button, and next to it, a button that looks like send. If I click on that, I have the option here on the lower left-hand side to add to story. I'll click that and it'll drag that post up to my story. Here I can add an additional text. I can also add in a bunch of other features such as location, a mention. I can also add a fun song if I want to, a link. A link is great if you want to share a blog article or a link to an open house registration or just a tour registration. So you can add in a bunch of features. You can also add in things like a countdown. This is great if you're counting down to a parenting class or a fundraising event. So there's a variety of different features you can add. Then when I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and click the Your Story button and it will post it to my story. So now I can go to my story and I'll see it there. You can see that little ring around my profile has a color that indicates that you now have a story that people can click on. Alternatively, if you want to post a story that isn't something that's on your main feed, what you would do is click this plus button. This is going to lead you again to create a post. Instead of post, you're going to click story and it will drag you to your camera. If you want to select a picture, you would just click that button on the very lower left-hand side. This is your camera roll, and you can go ahead and select a picture that you want to share to your story. Same thing here, you can add in text, you can add in different features, and when you're all happy with that, you can go ahead and add that to your story and it will add it to your story.
So you should definitely be using this feature every time that you post anything on your Instagram. And then we'll talk a little bit about Instagram highlights because this is something that you can also use here.
I'm going to be showing you how you can post it.
So this is how you create those Instagram highlight covers. I'm sure you've seen this. Many schools are utilizing it, which I think is a great branding opportunity, but you can create those highlight covers.
I'm going to be showing you how you can create
These
these
here.
Instagram highlights here on your profile. These are story highlights. I have these beautiful story highlight covers on them as well to make them look professional and cohesive with my brand. I'll show you how you can create these on Canva. Also, if you have a graphic designer on site, you can do that as well, or you can just use photos of your classroom or something that's appropriate for the highlight. But I have a variety of different categories here. Great ones for a Montessori school can be things like parent resources, parenting classes, open house, primary, elementary, toddler. You can do a different highlight for each program, summer camp. So you can do a variety of different story highlights that are relevant and fun. So if you want to create one, you would just simply go to New. What this is going to then do is take you to all of your previous stories. So they may have disappeared off of my stories because they only lasted 24 hours, but they always stay here on the record. So you can select any story that you want to repost on a story highlight. Let's say I want to select this one. I'll go ahead and click next. Here's where I can edit the cover and I can add in those beautiful covers if I want. For the sake of the example, I'm just going to go ahead and change it to maybe a shelf. I'm happy with that cover. I'll go ahead and click done. Here you can name the highlight. This is where I would go ahead and put in that name. I'll put this as primary. That's going to be the theme of the highlight. And I'll go ahead and click add. And that is going to add that to my story highlights so that it's now visible forever. If I want to delete it, it's very easy. I'll go back on it and I can put remove to highlight. If you only have one highlight, that will completely vanish from your profile. If not, it will stay on, but just that one individual post will be deleted. Here you can see some other examples of previous ones I have posted. So let's just say I want to go ahead and delete that, and you'll see that it will then disappear from my profile.
So this is a great way to categorize your content at a glance for families. So if you have lots of resources or parent education videos that you're posting, you can always add them to your story highlights so that parents can click through them. But I recommend having a couple of story highlights if you can. You can decide what categories are appropriate. And again, if you're looking for some inspiration, I recommend the Clover School. And there are several other Montessori schools out there that have amazing social accounts, but it's definitely worth taking the opportunity to kind of highlight your content and brand your school.
Yeah, I'm going to be showing you.
Again, these are just more information on those Instagram story covers. The way that I did those was on Canva. I'll do a little tutorial on how to do that in the next video, but some more ideas on different categories that you can have, programs, events, fundraising, summer camp, etc. And then here's how you can create those on Canva, which again is a free tool if you're a Montessori school. That doesn't cost you any money to set up a Canva account.
So I'm going to show you how to make those story highlights on Canva. If you have Canva, that's great. You can make those little professional looking logos easily. I'm just going to go to create a design and I'm going to put Instagram story highlight cover. And I'm going to click on that. That's going to take me to create those covers. There's a variety of templates already available. I recommend checking these out and you can tweak them. There's all sorts of colors. Of course, you can add in your own colors. For the sake of this sample, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this one. I can add in different graphics. Let's say I want to change the color of this to match my school colors. Saying my school colors are these shades of green, and I can add in a new figure. Let's say this is going to be for parent resources. Let's see if I go to shapes and graphics. Let's put parent. I think this one might be more representative. Can add that, change the color, and I have the story highlight cover for parent resources. I can download this onto my smartphone and I can easily add that on using my phone. If I go to edit cover, and it will fit that circle perfectly. You don't have to alter the picture if you download it on your smartphone. So that's great.
So it's pretty simple to create these. If you need some support, please let me know. You can always email me and I'm happy to give any more tips on this, but it's a great free resource and it's a great opportunity to make your profile look a little bit more cohesive and well-designed because after all, Instagram is very much a visual platform. So it's all about looks.
So I'm going to show you how to make the
All right, features you should know about continuing. Carousels, this is something that I'm sure you're familiar with. I've seen many schools use carousels. It's just another term for when you post more than one picture in one post and people can slide through them and see the different images. This is a great way to show parents multiple images. Say if you have an event or if you want to talk about a certain material, you can get several different pictures of children using that material and you can tell a story about it. But essentially, it's a way to include multiple images without clouding somebody's feed. You don't want to have to do 10 individual posts. Instead, you can do up to 10 pictures all at once. And this is how you would do that.
Another great example of a great Instagram feature is the carousel post. Here I am on North Shore Montessori School's Instagram account. They have a great Instagram and they're using the carousel posting. This is for if you want to post more than one picture in a main feed post. So you can see it'll show up like this with a tiny square. And if you slide, you can see the variety of pictures within one post. It's really easy to do. So if I wanted to do this, I would just go back to that post button. And as I see here, it gives me the options of my images and what I want to post. You see a little circle with a camera and a little circle with the carousel image, which is a little square with another square like peeking behind it. If you click on that, you can select the pictures you want and you can change the order around. So if I mess up and I don't want that one to be the first one, I can always change the order around just by tapping on them. Let's say I'm happy with those 4 images. Great. Here they are. Here's the carousel post. So I have that ready to post within one single post and they can slide and view the different images. I'll go ahead and write my caption and then I can go ahead and share that. And it will quickly show up on my profile and I'll see it with the little carousel option so I can slide. So it's really easy to do.
And that's another feature that's easy to use. It's a newer one. I think it's been around now for 2 years, but it's hasn't always been around on Instagram, but it's one that's great to share lots of images from one event or one program or a material. All right, another feature you should know about is hashtags. I see a lot of questions about hashtags, and I want you to know this is not something that you need to be particularly stressed about because Instagram changes up on hashtags so often. Really, what hashtags do is they help you with discoverability. They increase the visibility of your content because it's basically adding little categories to your content. It can increase audience engagement because it can help the right people see the content. So people that are interested in the hashtag can actually reach your content, and it will help you organize your content and categorize it. So some tips for hashtags. For a hashtag to work, it must have no spacing. So everything will come out as one word. It will have no numbers and it cannot have any punctuation. It simply has to be the @ and then the entire hashtag all at once. So just like this, there are no spaces. It's Montessori school name, no spaces, no punctuation. You should always use a school hashtag. So for instance, if I'm North Shore Montessori, my hashtag would be hashtag North Shore Montessori, and I would put that under any picture all the time, no matter what. For the rest of the hashtags of a picture, just think about it as a way of describing your picture. For instance, if I'm photographing a child using the pink tower, I would hashtag it with maybe hashtag my school name, hashtag primary Montessori, hashtag pink tower, hashtag Montessori primary child, anything that I can think of that would describe the post or the imagery that the person is seeing. Think of your target audience, what would their interests be, and how would they describe that content? All right. Instagram and device compatibility. I mentioned this a little bit earlier about how Instagram is meant to be really navigated on a smartphone, but I'll talk about what you can do on each device. Any questions before we move on about those features? I know it was a lot. And always feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll share my email at the end of the call. So if you have any one-on-one questions you'd like to ask me later on about anything that we've discussed, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I have a couple of questions,
Yeah.
Camila. Not clear in terms of the when to use Canva versus when to use things like Reels.
Mm-hmm.
And are they basically an overlap in features? So that's one question. Second question is, I have Instagram on my website.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a parent and I went to my website and want to access the Instagram, I have to personally have an Instagram account to do that, right? Or no?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Someone would have to have an Instagram account to really engage. Well, it will ask parents to log in, but nowadays the reality is that the majority of parents are millennials, of younger parents, and they do almost always have Instagram accounts. Not all, but it has a very large number of users. So the chances and likelihood of them having an Instagram is probably even bigger than them having a Facebook. And then to answer your other questions about when to use Canva. So Canva is just really a graphic design tool made easy. So that's just a space for you to create content, if you want to make a logo, if you want to use it for your story highlights, or maybe even a post, you can use Canva to create content to then post or use on Instagram. You can use it to edit pictures by adding little bubbles or text. You can use it to edit reels, but it's not really a platform for posting anything. It's just, think of it as a little design studio for you to go in and create or improve your content. That's free for you as a school because they do not charge educators to use their platform. So if you don't have a graphic designer as part of your staff, which many schools do not, Canva is a great tool for you to use in order to enhance and create content to then post on the Instagram platform.
So unfortunately, I'm not a millennium with this thing, so I don't have an Instagram. So when I go to my website, when I try to click on the Instagram, it says open the Instagram app. So that's
Right.
what you're saying, that I have to create one before I can do anything.
Right. And this is why it's really an app designed for mobile use. And the reality is that it's for parents who have the app, which most do nowadays. There are a couple of people who are not on social media, but the majority of people are. I would say maybe find someone on your team. Usually, well, at least it was in our school. We had an office staff member who was younger and they were really great at navigating through social media. They were an Instagram user. They didn't have any marketing experience when it came to social media, but they just knew how to use the app. They posted often themselves on their personal account, and we kind of let them take over the Instagram account just because they knew how to use it really well. And they posted regularly on there for us, and that helped. So if anything, if Instagram is not something that you yourself are comfortable with, I definitely recommend seeing if you can delegate that and have someone do it for your school. I believe now at the school I used to work at, it's now a parent who actually does it. So we even delegated outside of the staff community. All right, Instagram is designed for mobile use. So while Facebook is really desktop friendly, because Facebook was originally designed to be accessed on a desktop or a laptop, Instagram was not. Instagram was founded to be a smartphone app. So this means that you won't be able to access all of the features from your desktop or laptop. And the experience of using Instagram, both as a viewer and a poster, is a lot easier from a smartphone, whether you have an iPhone or other smartphone like an Android. What can you do from your desktop on Instagram? You can post main feed posts and reels. You can respond to private messages, DMs, and you can send DMs as well. You can respond to comments, like pictures, but that's pretty much it. You cannot post on your story from your desktop, and it becomes a little bit trickier to set up your account when you do it from your desktop. So I definitely recommend account setup should be on a smartphone. Any questions about that? Every feature can be accessed from a smartphone, but not from the desktop. I don't know if anyone. I myself always have a tab open on my computer for my Instagram profile because I can see people's posts and I can post main feed posts myself. But for instance, if I wanted to post anything on my story, I would have to grab my phone and do that from there. All right, next we're going to talk about what content works on Instagram, and I'm going to be giving some tips on how to create this content in a way that's realistic for Montessori schools, because we know that You don't have influencers or creatives on site to create a bunch of content for you. That's not realistic for schools. But there are so many tools out there that are free and accessible. So let's get into that. First and foremost, Instagram is a visual platform, as I mentioned earlier. Great photography is really key here. Luckily, nowadays, iPhones have really wonderful cameras. You don't need to have, a Canon professional digital camera to capture these moments. Although if you have a stock photo library of school images, great. If not, don't fret. You can still post great content. Videos are important. There are less opportunities to link to your website, so you need to be strategic, such as posting on your stories with links and having that link in your bio always. Captions matter less than they do on platforms like Facebook. I know a lot of Montessorians, we stress about what kind of writing we're going to do under our posts. We want to explain what parents are seeing. Really, it needs to be very surface level, a sentence or two, and then hashtags. The captions are so secondary. And if you have links to redirect your website, you can always put that on your story. Trends are important, and if you want to look professional and relevant, it's sometimes fun to stay on trend. Again, if you yourself don't feel comfortable with doing this, you can always delegate this, and I'll talk more about some delegation strategies later in this presentation, because it's certainly not something that you as a director have to do yourself. You have so many other things, like worrying about board meetings and growing enrollments and things like that, that this is really secondary to that. So here's just an example of some good Instagram content for a Montessori and bad without really photography. So both of these, both the good and the bad, were created on Canva from pre-existing templates. Just to show how great of a tool Canva is. They're not sponsoring this by any means. And again, I just like to toot their horn because they're free for schools, and I think it's such a great resource if you don't have a graphic designer. So in the good example here, all of the imagery just feels more Montessori. The imagery is Montessori relevant. We see Montessori materials or photography. The colors are usually a little bit more in tune with what we would see in the Montessori space. It all depends on how you do your branding, of course. And then in the bad side, we see things that aren't really relevant to Montessori specifically. For instance, a chalkboard is not something that we use to teach a classroom as a whole. That's more in connection with traditional schooling. Same with the other picture. It just doesn't really say anything about Montessori itself. You want to make sure that all of your visuals are Montessori relevant, on brand, and tell your story as a Montessori school. So be a little bit strategic about your content and the visuals that you're putting out there. It's a visual representation of your school. Here are some samples of good content. So here I have a picture of a classroom. This is a Montessori space. This is a picture that, it is not by any means a super professional, high quality picture. And then I can say here, my caption, it's just a very short sentence. We believe that when an environment is set up appropriately, it can help a child develop independence, coordination, concentration, and internal sense of order. I added a couple of hashtags, and that's it. It really doesn't have to take too long to create a post. Something like this can take 5 minutes, and then you can post it. Here's another example. This is a stock photo image from Canva. So this is free for schools to use. It's not necessarily Montessori, but it tells a story, and it can be content that you can include. Morning routines can be challenging with young children. What are your hacks to make your routine a bit easier? Comment below. You're asking for engagement, and then you're just including a couple of hashtags. Doesn't have to be a whole, I see this all the time, people posting these beautifully written paragraphs. That's great to include in a blog. It's great to include maybe in your newsletter. It's unnecessary on Instagram. It's really a lot simpler than you would think. If you're looking for tools, if you're a if you're a Nido Marketing content subscriber, we have an entire Montessori stock photo library that you have full access to. I recommend using it for Instagram. You can take all of these pictures whenever you want and create Instagram posts from them. Here's just a little insight of how it looks. It's organized by category, so it's very easy to find imagery. Everything is Montessori relevant because the pictures were taken at Montessori schools. and you are able to use this if you are a Nido Marketing either full plan member or a content subscriber. You can access this photo library whenever. This is an example from Canva. So if you don't, if you are not a Nido Marketing subscriber, obviously this is a little bit more limited. There's not as much of an extensive collection to pick from, but there are some relevant imageries, and I was pleasantly surprised with how much Canva has available. This is what happens when you type in Montessori. These are the images available. So you can pull from that. That's where I got this classroom picture. So feel free to use those as well for posts. I see a question here. Do you add photos to the stock library on an ongoing basis? So yes, we are slowly attempting to grow our stock photo library. We have, I think, 3 schools who have okayed for us to share their images on our stock photo library, and we have over 1,000 images, I believe, that are all Montessori relevant. And every year or so, we try to add in another kind of photo dump from another school of images available to our content subscribers. So we try to refresh that every now and then, but it is a pretty big collection already as it is. I recommend using it. I believe we don't have adolescent imagery. That's something that we're looking to get. That's a little bit harder because there aren't a lot of schools that have adolescent programs. So it's great if you have toddler programs, primary, elementary. We have plenty of content for that. And of course, content of classroom environments and materials. Using your own photography is ultimately the best. It's always preferred for you to post your own photographic or video content from your own school if this is possible. I highly recommend hiring a photographer for your school if you haven't already. The great thing about hiring a photographer is this is something you have to do once every 10 years, really. You don't have to do this often because even if that child was 5 then and is now 15 or even older, the picture is still relevant to new parents. It still tells your story, so you can use and recycle that content over and over again. Usually when a photographer comes into your school, they're taking hundreds of pictures and building you a stock photo library that you can use year upon year. If you're looking for Montessori photographers, let us know. We have a photography service where we will send a Montessori photographer to your school, and they will take pictures all day and then build you a photo library that you can use personally for your school. If you don't want to do this yet, or this isn't something that you're ready to do as a school, you can always just take pictures in your classrooms with your phone. And this is something that we did at the school that I worked at. We did have professional photos taken, but we also liked to take those raw organic moments and have pictures in the classroom. And something that we did was we asked all of our guides and assistants to take pictures from time to time on their phones. I'm not saying this is a positive, but I think that children are a little bit more desensitized to phones nowadays. So when they see a phone being taken out for a second or two, it doesn't necessarily disrupt them as much as it used to maybe a couple of years ago. So if a teacher can just, every now and then take a picture of an event or a circle time or something, an assistant can be standing in the back. This can be a simple picture to take. It's great to create content on the fly and regularly so you can post more frequently. Something that we did was we started a group chat, and every week we'd have our assistants and guides send a couple of pictures there, and that would be content that then we would use to post online. Something you want to make sure to have, though, is a photo release form. And what we did is we had every parent that enrolled sign a photo release form, and we would have them do this every year because sometimes they may change their mind, who knows? And at the beginning, before school started, we'd have them sign that, and we would then print out a list of all of the names of children that would be allowed to be photographed for social media. We would hang that up in the classroom so that assistants and guides could familiarize themselves with those names and know which children they could take pictures of to post on social media later. And this became really helpful. After a while, the teachers just knew which students were okay to photograph. And this really helped us up the content of photographs that could be used for our Instagram account. If you're looking for a sample of a photo release form, here's one. I believe we have 3 or 4 different photo release forms. So if you want to compare with there's a couple different ones in our Montessori Thrive collection, if you're a member, where this full document is available for you to download so that you can edit it and use for your school. But I wanted to offer it up here for those who attended today's call. You can screenshot it. If you're watching the recording as well, you can take notes. But this is just a sample here that we would hand out at the beginning of every school year. We'd ask for the student's name. Here we had, please check the appropriate lines below to indicate your preferences. So if parents were okay with internal publications, such as newsletters and things like that, that would only be shared with the community. External publications, so if we wanted to use them for social media, or for, let's say, if we wanted to promote an article about our school or something like that, it would be okay to use their images. And here we have them sign. So this is something that you can do in order to just ensure, because we are posting pictures of minors, that we have the parents' permission to post them on social media. Another thing that you can do, because sometimes parents are like, I'm okay with, I just don't want their face. You can always do some strategic pictures where it's just, the back of their head, or you can put a sticker over the face of the child. I see this happen often on Instagram. It doesn't take away from the content, and actually it doesn't bother parents to see the child's face covered, because they're still able to see what's going on at the school, an event. So you can always do that as well and offer it if you don't have any parents that approve of having their child's face. That's a strategic way to approach it. Using graphics, again, with Canva's editing tools, you can create those graphics just like the ones I showed a couple slides back, where I showed the sample of the good and the bad posts. You want to make sure that all of the graphics are Montessori relevant. It's great to use your brand colors and you can include the school logo as an overlay on your pictures, and make sure that all of this imagery is high quality and professional. Again, Canva is a great tool for this if you don't have a graphic designer that you work with. Something that you want to consider when it comes to creating content specifically for your Montessori school account is the audience that you're reaching. So picture this: a prospective parent is visiting your account before a tour. What would you want them to see? And I want you to think this way because this is how people are approaching your Instagram. So for instance, if I go on someone's school website, I see that they have a social account, I'm going to click on them and I'm going to see a little bit more imagery. Just as I would if I was to go to a restaurant, I would want to see pictures of the restaurant, of their food, or maybe if I wanted to go try a new hair salon, I'm going to go to their Instagram to see their work. I would do the same if I'm looking for a school. So these are the things that I personally would like them to see. Images of my beautiful environments. I want them to see the shelves, the materials, the classrooms, because our environments are so fundamentally different than those of a daycare or other traditional school settings. This is a huge selling point for us. I would want them to see images of students at work, those concentration moments that are so special in the Montessori classroom, a student with a guide. What school events I offer. If I offer parenting events, community projects, fundraisers, things for parents to come together, build community, and find support, I would want parents to see that so they can see that not only is my child going to be receiving an education here that's a quality education, but I'm going to have a community, a village, if you will. Posts about the benefits of Montessori. We're always having to educate parents on what is Montessori, what are the benefits, why pick Montessori, so we can teach them as well on our own Instagram accounts. And images and videos about how your school stands out. So what's special about your school? If you're a school that maybe has a beautiful garden that you let the students help you maintain, this is a huge selling point. Are you a coastal school maybe that has access to the ocean and you do some trips every now and then to go see the water? If you have any sort of unique thing to share about your school, share it, whether it's a language program, your environment, it's something that gives you an edge. Oh, and I left this, I'm going to go back because I left this out. But another thing that you can always post as well is information about your staff. You can talk about, you can maybe highlight staff whenever you hire someone new. You can talk about them a little bit through an Instagram post. I know some schools are doing this now for Teacher Appreciation Week. That's this week. They're doing little posts on each of their teachers, thanking them and highlighting everything that they've done for the school and their experience. And this is a great way as well for people to get to know your school. Any questions on what content to post on Montessori, on a Montessori Instagram, or how to create that content? I'm happy to answer any questions or offer resources. I also want to say when it comes to creating content, a question I hear a lot is how much do I need to be posting? The reality is you don't need to be posting every day, and that's a lot of work. I would say if you're feeling overwhelmed by it, start with one post a week and see if that's something that's manageable for you. If you feel like it is, a great number is bi-weekly. If you post bi-weekly and post 2 posts a week on your Instagram and then one on those on your story, that's great. A great way to start expanding the content and your presence on the platform. If you can post daily, if you have a very, very interactive community on Instagram that is excited to see your posts, maybe daily is appropriate, but you can really kind of test the waters. But I recommend start out with one weekly if you're overwhelmed and see where you can go from there. So what goals should you set on Instagram? What's your aim here? A lot of people think it's followers, and this is part of it. While your following is important, it's not the number one thing when it comes to growth. I think it's important to let people know that you're on Instagram. So always link it on your website. You should have your socials there. Any type of brochure, business card that you're giving away, announce this at open houses or tours. Let people know that they can follow you there. Another thing is engagement, is likes, comments, views. This is another thing. I think the most important one here is views. Is your content being seen? Nowadays, likes have just gone down a lot more because of the nature of Instagram with ads. Because there's so many ads on our feed, we're less hesitant to like in fear of accidentally liking an ad. So don't worry so much about the likes, although it's always good to get more than less. And comments are great. So invite comments, invite questions, but really ultimately focus on the views, and you can see your views on your Instagram business profile analytics, which is very easy to access on the phone. And your reach. Are new parents viewing your profiles? How can you tell? Usually if you're running social ads, so paid ads on Instagram, it'll give you a lot more information on who you're reaching, how many people are seeing your information. How can you tell? Ask parents how they found out about you. Ask parents on tours or when they enroll, did you follow us on Instagram? What were your thoughts? Get some in-person data as well as to how your Instagram is being successful in reaching prospective parents, if it's working. Are you getting new followers and then they're becoming enrolled parents down the line? So keep an eye on that. It's great to have someone in your team dedicated to Instagram for this reason. How can you engage with your audience? If you really want to engage, it's kind of important to keep up with the trends. Here are some things that you should know. Always repost on your story for visibility. Absolutely. Post really good content only. If it looks bad or if you have mediocre content, don't post. For instance, if it's a blurry picture, if it doesn't tell your story, if it's not Montessori relevant, avoid posting it. Use hashtags. This is a great way to improve engagement. Encourage families to follow you on socials. Include your handle on your website, business cards, brochures, and more. Likes does not necessarily equal success, so don't fret too much about the likes. Just focus on growing a presence and sharing images of your school, and post frequently and consistently. How can your team help you thrive on Instagram? So everything I've just shared might be a little bit overwhelming. You don't have to run Instagram on your own. Please delegate. I really do implore you to delegate as much as you can on this profile, because it's important to have a presence. And if what I find a lot with school leaders is they wear so many hats. This is not a priority for you. And realistically, it shouldn't be, because you have so many bigger fish to fry. But you don't want to brush this under the rug. Instead, find someone who is passionate about Instagram or knows how to use it really well and see if they can help you. Ask teachers' assistants to take pictures every day. Have a list of those photo-approved students. Utilize Instagram scheduling. You can even just use a simple spreadsheet, and you can ask a teacher or a parent to put together 4 posts or 5 posts a month for your school and send them to you on the first Monday of every month. And that can be a great way to get started. Repurpose content. If you posted something a couple years ago, you can always repost it or reutilize it. There's new parents in your community now, so sometimes it's okay to do that. Organize a photo library if you don't. Of course, if you have access to the Nido Marketing one, that one's already organized. Or if you hire a photographer, I'm sure you have an organized photo library to use as well. Invite your younger staff members to help with content, utilize their skills, or if you're a school that's lucky enough to have an adolescent program, see how you can get them involved in helping you have an online presence and building community. These are, I think now we're looking at Generation Alpha, close to Generation Alpha. These are digital natives. They know everything about technology. They've grown up on the internet. They can help you. So don't ever underestimate the power of your community. What about other platforms? So we talked a little bit about Facebook. Should you still post? Yes, you should still post on Facebook. Luckily, Facebook and Instagram are owned by Meta, the same company. So you can post on both platforms simultaneously. If you want, it'll give you the option to link together your Facebook and Instagram account, and it'll ask you when you post, do you also want to post on Facebook, ? You can just click yes, and you've got both platforms covered at once. You don't have to worry about doing all these different posts. Twitter, which is now called X. I think Twitter is only really useful for events and kind of short-term news. I don't think it's as important as Instagram. So if you don't have the bandwidth, I would say just do an Instagram and Facebook. TikTok, I think this is probably something we're going to have to worry about maybe later on. But I don't necessarily think this is a huge focus for Montessori schools right now. Although some schools have had some success on TikTok, I think, again, Instagram is the most important. YouTube is great for posting parent education videos. If you host any kind of parenting class, you can also post this on YouTube. Those are going to be longer videos, just like these. We record these and put them on our YouTube channel. You can do the same with parenting classes. So that's a great platform for that. But Instagram is really that big platform moving forward until now. Who knows what will be in 10 years, but this is a great place to focus now. Video is the future. We talked about Reels. I really urge you to experiment in creating Reels because the content that people are consuming is changing, and short form videos is #1. So utilize those easy editing tools on Canva. And smartphones really have great camera capabilities nowadays. All you need is a smartphone, and most people have a smartphone nowadays. So implore your assistants and teachers to take little short 5-second videos here or there and pictures, and you will have a bigger collection quicker than you realize. We have resources to help you with Instagram. We have some on our Montessori Thrive Resource Exchange. If you need some, feel free to place a resource request as well. We also have a private school leadership forum on Thrive where you can ask questions. Feel free to ask any questions related to Instagram. Our weekly town halls. Our YouTube channel is full of videos that can help you with Instagram marketing. So check that out. And we also have an Instagram course and templates available on Montessori Thrive for you to utilize. All right. Well, we're just on the hour. I want to stop sharing and see if there's any more questions or anything else you'd like to discuss. I know it was a lot. And I said I would share my email in the chat, so I'll do that now. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. And also email me if you would like to see any town hall topic in the future. We host these, like I said, every week. Although we're wrapping up on, our last one will be on May 23rd. So we have 2 more, and then we'll be out until September, until school comes back. All right, next week, we're going to have a discussion on some staff retention strategies. And we're coming to the end of the year. I know a lot of schools are losing staff members. there's teacher shortages, and especially ones in the Montessori space, it's hard to replace our staff with so few trained teachers out there. So we'll be covering some of that and answering questions and hosting an open forum to exchange ideas when it comes to retention. So if that's a topic you'd like to learn more about, we look forward to seeing you next Thursday. And I hope these strategies and tips were helpful. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Oh, I realized I put the wrong email. Hold on. My brain is a little bit scrambled today. This is my email. All right. If you want to reach me with any questions, please reach me there. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and a good weekend as well. Take care.